Lena and Katya, two friends from Ryazan, went to a disco and never returned. They were searched by police, relatives, and friends. The girls were searched for a long time, 3 years and 7 months. That's how long the young schoolgirls spent in underground captivity. They lived in darkness, dampness, without sunlight. They experienced violence and abuse, humiliation and hunger. The captives hoped until the last that they would definitely be freed. Autumn 2000. On the holiday of faith, hope, and love, friends Lena Simakina and Katya Morozova decided to have fun and went to a local disco. They chose a trendy one that all Ryazan music radio stations constantly advertised. After dancing, the girls went home. By the appointed time they had to return, their parents were waiting for them. But neither at 10 in the evening, nor at 12 at night, nor even in the morning did Lena and Katya show up at home. Relatives sounded the alarm and turned to the police. This had never happened in Ryazan before. Teenagers disappeared without a trace in the center of the city. There was hope that the girls would be found somewhere. Maybe they were spending time. But then, after a certain time had passed and no traces of the girls were found, it was decided to open a criminal case. In newspaper columns, attention, missing search, photographs of minors were printed almost weekly. However, the police also did not find any witnesses to the abduction or murder of Lena and Katya. So where did the girls go? What happened to them? Why were there no witnesses to their disappearance? Could similar cases happen in the city? These questions worried the Ryazan police and the regional prosecutor's office. Parents demanded to urgently find their children. Time passed, but the investigation did not move from dead center. Went and disappeared without a trace. That's all the operational information. It was as if Lena and Katya had fallen through the earth. On September 30th, 2000, Lena and Katya were declared a federal wanted persons. Now the entire Russian police began to search for them. Orientations on the girls were sent to all corners of the country. But parents thought this was not enough. They constantly went to the prosecutor's office and complained about the poor, as they considered, work of the operatives. The mothers of the missing schoolgirls were tired of the constant phrase, "We're looking, we're doing everything we can." A year passed, then a second, a third, but no traces of the girls could be found. And that's it. 17-year-old Lena Semikina's mother, Alexandra Ivanovna, did not calm down for a minute. She herself looked for her daughter, sought help even from psychics. One day during another session, the woman suddenly felt better in her soul. Alexandra Ivanovna unexpectedly believed the words of another psychic. The psychic told her, "She's alive, but your daughter is worse off than the other girl." In the spring of 2004, operatives from the Skopin police department received information. An unknown man is looking for a strong poison and offering a lot of money for it. Later, the identity of this person was established. He turned out to be a worker at a local factory, Viktor Mokov. The police were extremely surprised that a quiet, modest, law-abiding citizen, winner of all social competitions, the best worker, Perdovic, was going to poison someone. The operatives came to the conclusion that someone in the city decided to play a joke on the unsuccessful bachelor and spread terrible rumors about him. Sometime later, a student from a local medical college came to the duty station of the Skopin Internal Affairs Directorate. She handed the police an unusual note. In childish handwriting, it was written, "We are hostages, free us." For the small and quiet town of Skopin, this information seemed far-fetched. The police knew all the residents by sight, and no one, the operatives believed, was capable of kidnapping people. On the other hand, suspicion arose that we were not talking about the Ryazan friends who disappeared 3 years ago, and the detectives still decided to check the received signal. It turned out that the student who handed over the note to the police rented a room in a house where an old woman and her 50-year-old son, Viktor Mokov, lived. The note was given to the student by a girl she didn't know, who once appeared in the Mokov's house in the evening. The stranger was frightened by something. Then she quickly disappeared somewhere, and the student never saw her again. After reading the message she received from this girl, the student did not lose her head and immediately went to the police. On the same day, Viktor Mokov was detained and taken to the police station. The operatives suggested that the hostages were somewhere in the house or near it. During the first interrogation at the police station, Mokov denied everything. He gave no testimony and said he had not kidnapped anyone. After long interrogations, when the police began to mention the names of the missing girls to him, he thought they already knew everything and began to tell everything himself. Police officers found out that the girls held captive by Mokov were the same Lena and Katya Morozova, who went to a disco in 2000 and never returned. The girls were alive, that was the case. Mokov, being cunning and cautious, claimed that the captives were kept in a small basement, but he did not specify where. Mokov said, "If you find them, then they are yours." The operational group searched the entire garden, inspected the house, examined the garage, but there were no hostages anywhere. The police officers shouted, knocked, and made noise, but there was silence in response. While the police were examining the territory of Mokov's house, they found an abandoned basement, but could not find an entrance to it anywhere. On the same day, Mokov himself told investigators about this basement and explained how to get into it. The investigative team was informed of the exact coordinates of the basement via mobile phone. Despite this, the police did not immediately get into the dungeon. They had to go through a lot of trouble. Everyone understood that the girls were somewhere here, but where? After 2 hours, the entrance to the dungeon was finally found. It turned out that Viktor Mokov had been hiding Lena and Katya in a real bunker made of concrete and metal. Mokov's garden resembled a military facility in some way. A high fence surrounded by barbed wire, dogs. The bunker where the schoolgirls lived could not be found easily. It was hidden underground, and on top there was an automobile garage. To one of the walls of this structure, a metal sheet and wooden planks were attached. Experts noted that there was a well-worn path leading to this place. They tore off the metal sheet, behind which there was an entrance to the bunker. Opening the massive door, the operatives heard the quiet voices of the captives. They came from somewhere in the depths. Viktor Mokov's words. "I read about it in a newspaper of some kind. There was a man who built a basement under his garage and kept women there. They worked for him, but I didn't need them to work. That's how I wanted it too." The police officers did not immediately understand the system of secret locks and hidden doors. They had to study it for a long time. Descending the stairs down, the operatives finally found the last door behind which the hostages were located. 3 years and 7 months, Ryazan schoolgirls had been waiting for this moment. What they had experienced here cannot be conveyed in any words. They had already stopped worrying. At the time of liberation, Lena was in her last month of pregnancy. When asked by the operatives, "Who are you pregnant with?" the girl replied, "Uncle Vitya." This was how the young sex slaves referred to their master, Viktor Mokov. Later it turned out that Lena was already pregnant with him for the 3rd time. In these terrible conditions, the girl managed to give birth to 2 healthy boys. The birth was attended by her friend Katya. As soon as the children of the dungeon were born, or rather into darkness and dampness, their father, Viktor Mokov, immediately took them away from the young mother. Viktor Mokov said, "Before this incident, I had no children, but due to this incident, I became a father at 50. The first boy was born on November 6, 2001, and was named Vlad. The second was born on June 6, 2003, and was named Oleg. I was very happy." Mokov took his sons born underground to the city center and threw them under the doors of the first houses he came across. Then he waited for the police and ambulance to arrive and quietly left. Prisoners were carefully taken out of the basement. Pregnant Lena, seeing the sun for the first time in years, could barely stand on her feet. The clean spring air had an intoxicating effect on her. Viktor Mokov believed that if a hostage had sexual relations with him, it was voluntary, out of love. But the girls had no other choice. Mokov's pleasure and amusements were exchanged for food, water, air, and electricity. Thus the hostages bought themselves days of life. 1 book, exercise books with English exercises, houses made of matchboxes. These were all the entertainments the prisoners had. During this time, Katya wrote 321 poems. Mokov's favorite expression was, "A woman is not a human." According to neighbors, Viktor Mokov was a thrifty man. He constantly worked in the garden, looked after his rabbits, and fed chickens. His mother said, "He is kind and good. We never argue with him. He does everything I ask him to." A good, decent, and beloved son, according to the pensioner, began digging a hole in the garden back in 1997. The woman claims that Victor dug the ground specifically for a cellar for jam, pickles, and potatoes. For 3 years, Mokov worked with a shovel in his hands in the yard of the house to build a bunker where he kept the prisoners. He removed a lot of earth from his plot. Mokov once graduated from college and received a specialty as a mining master. With this knowledge, he built a small mine, installed electricity, launched ventilation, and even installed an air supply regulator. The depth of the bunker is about 6 meters. The width is 2 meters. Multi-level concrete overlappings. On top, there is a dummy, as if it were a garage. The entire structure is covered with iron sheets. The entrance to the bunker is located from the side of the garden. The secret structure of Mokov was covered with apple tree branches. To feel and understand the full scope of the underground complex, it is necessary to explain in detail. Before entering the bunker, you need to open the first door, then find the second one in the floor. After that, go down the stairs. At the level of the concrete floor, a third rectangular door, made of strong metal, is mounted into the wall. Behind it is another fourth door, 20 centimeters thick. The hinges are like those in an armored wagon with a human fist. The door was mounted on an iron frame. Behind these two last doors, there was a small room where the prisoners lived. Inside, there was a bed, a table, a shelf for a TV. On the floor, there was an electric stove where the girls cooked their food. During interrogations, Viktor Mokov told investigators and operatives that he had been preparing for the abduction of girls for a long time and had planned everything in advance. Lena and Katya, returning from a disco, fell into his network. Mokov drove a car, stopped near the girls who were walking from the club, and offered them a ride. They agreed. Then Mokov took out a bottle of wine into which a potent sleeping agent had been mixed and offered the girls to drink. The girls did not refuse. They woke up in an unfamiliar place where their 3 years of personal hell began. After several days in the dark and damp, without food and clean air, the girls realized that they were captive and it would not be easy to get out of here to freedom. And now their future depended only on an elderly pervert who would have to obey. According to Viktor Mokov, he tried to make it so that the girls were not bored at a depth of 6 meters. He bought paints, albums, and installed a small TV in the dungeon. This box became a kind of window to the world for the captives. They could at least orient themselves in terms of time of day and calendar dates. Over time, Mokov, as he put it, became attached to little Katya, confessed his love to her, and even made luxurious gifts by his standards, namely, taking her out on a chain for a walk outside. During a search of Mokov's house, they found the very chain with which he chained Katya to a fence or bed. Once, during one of these walks, the captive managed to secretly pass a note to the same student, a future nurse. The investigation into the Skopin hostages case continued all summer. During this time, operatives and investigators managed to find and detain Viktor Mokov's accomplice. Previously convicted Elena Badubina, she is accused of aiding Mokov. According to the investigation, it was this woman who, on the day of the girls' abduction, gave Lena and Katya a psychotropic substance, after which the schoolgirls lost consciousness. Operatives are confident that Viktor Mokov had no intention of releasing his captives. He was developing and preparing a plan to kill the girls. If he had managed to find poison, he would have carried out his sentence. Former hostages of Mokov, Lena, and Katya gradually returned to a normal human life. In freedom, the girls had to learn how to walk again. During captivity, they had forgotten how to do it. Katya was going to enter an art college. She wanted to continue drawing and pursuing art. By decision of the local authorities, material assistance was provided to the former captives. If Katya hadn't managed to throw the note then we would still be there. And it's unknown if we would be alive or not. Lena Simakina. He took away 3 years of my life, 3.5. I don't have them, the best ones. Limited freedom, not even limited, but simply stole it from me. That's the worst. I really want him to suffer so that he doesn't have a minute of happiness, even a little one. I just want him to be in pain. Katya Morozova.